We got to talk about Ian's favorite subject.
Yes.
So this might be the probably the scariest story I've ever seen. The one that truly freaks me out the most. Wokeness at Fed's regional banks puts central bank independence at risk. Fed is supposed to operate free from political influence. Okay.
I love it whenever anybody types that with a straight face. Oh, the Federal Reserve? Yeah, no, they don't engage in politics at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Why would they?
So they say Federal Reserve banks in Atlanta, Boston, Minneapolis recently dedicated resources to social policy, reflecting the political leaning of officials who are neither elected nor confirmed by the Senate. The Federal Reserve's mission statement mandates the central bank to achieve maximum employment and stable prices while being free from political influence. Experience has shown that countries with independent central banks achieve better outcomes. Pursuing a highly politicized social agenda unrelated to monetary policy is inflicting reputational damage on the Minneapolis, Atlanta, and Boston Fed banks and the Federal Reserve as a whole. The first thing I'm scared of, but hold on, there's some good news here, is that the Fed is the machine by which they control things and extract like essentially hidden taxes on people, printing money, borrowing money, and then your savings become worthless, and then they can use it to fund war and other things like that. Getting woke just means creepy, dogmatic authoritarianism. However, it is also instability. Wokeness is meritless. It is about instituting policy on the basis of what feels good in our emotions and our ideology as opposed to what works. So it's kind of like, well, we've seen wokeness destroy institutions, right? We say, get woke, go broke. So it may be scary what happens when the Federal Reserve starts instituting policy at a very massive level. But at the same time, what if the Fed gets woke and goes broke?
Huh.
What happens?
Huh.
What would happen if they...
I don't know if the Federal Reserve Board could be any worse at their job, frankly. And these guys have caused nothing but booms and busts and catastrophes, artificial booms and very real busts and catastrophes my entire lifetime long. I mean, in the 1980s, I'll never forget that in Northwest Austin, they had built entire neighborhoods and entire shopping malls, but it was just the roads and the foundations. And then it stayed like that for 10 years. It was another 10 years before they built Lakeline Mall. And we used to just go out there and camp and get drunk and
skate.
And skate.
Dude, I love it when you find those like
the old slabs, yeah.
Just like pre-constructed buildings that are left for a long time. It's just
and it was just like that for something like 10 years. And then we all lived through the .com massive crash at the end of the Bill Clinton years, where instead of cashing our peace dividend and bringing the troops home, instead, they printed a bunch of money, inflated the money supply. See, here's the thing about inflation, too, is, as you say, it's hidden taxation, right? Yeah. It's theft. It's the same reason it's against the law for you and I to counterfeit money, is because we're stealing the value of our neighbors' dollars if we do that. But that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is that you get massive price inflation in certain sectors, like housing, stocks.
That's happening.
Fuel.
Right now.
That's what's happening again right now.
Yeah.
So after the .com crash of 2000, they kept inflating housing. And they just poured more and more and more money into housing to prevent that recession from really kicking in. And then we had the massive crash of '08 that brought the whole dang world down with it. And then what'd they do? QE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just did nothing but expand the money supply, inflate. And just as Rothbard teaches, they always try to somehow like prick the bubble and slowly let the air out, but it's always a crash.
Yep.
And in fact, though, what happened this time was we were due for a crash last year or this year or sometime here real soon.
Yeah.
But what happened was the governors, Donald Trump and the governors did it for us and forced the recession, not through high interest rates, but just by forcing the clampdown, the lockdown on the entire economy. And so that meant all kinds of bad debts were being canceled off of bank books, right? It's massively deflationary to have, in other words, it was a deliberately imposed depression or recession on the economy. So then where does that leave us right now? With the lockdowns just being lifted, a massive increase in the money supply, it means we're right back where we were in the year 2000, 2001, right back where we were in the year 2009, just at the start of the next big bubble.
So we're good. So
For
let's
now,
ride the wave.
That's right.
We are, yeah.
Unless you're trying to afford a place to live and you can't, And which is why, I don't know about around here, but in Austin, Texas, there has never been a homeless crisis like there is right now.
And in California, it's insane.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. And there's people living in tents up and down the side of the road everywhere. And
but here's
price inflation in housing. And the rents and the mortgages have gone through the roof.
Now add in Biden offering up more stimulus and more tax credits and more money for not working. And what's happening, we see these stories where fast food restaurants are saying, $500 bonus, $1,000 bonus, come take the job, and people still won't do it. I see from a lot of leftists, they're like, oh, surprise, surprise, nobody wants to work at fast food unless they're getting paid a living wage. No, dude, you're getting paid $16 an hour to not work, which means I don't got to do anything. Why would I take $16 an hour now to work when I'm already getting it to not work?
Well, but plus the cost of living keeps going up. So it's $15 an hour ain't what it used to be.
But this is the problem. That's a surface level problem. What people don't see is the same problems affecting steel mills. The same problem is affecting mining raw materials. So while we can laugh that you can't buy your Popeye's chicken sandwich because nobody wants to work there, has anyone actually looked at the raw materials that aren't getting produced because the same problem is happening, or the farming that's not getting done because the same problem is happening? You got a farmer and he's like, I need someone to work the fields, to collect the crops, to pick the certain vegetables. And it's like, how much are you going to pay? I can pay $20 an hour. Yeah, I get 16 for nothing, so no thank you, I won't do it. Guess what? You go to your store, you can't find bacon anymore. You go to your store, you can't find vegetables. It's not just fast food, it's hitting everything. Right. And it's been happening since last year, because I've mentioned this several times. I go on Amazon, I buy a tablet, or I put a tablet in my cart. I forgot, I didn't buy it. And then a day or two later, I get a notification. The price is increased in this product. It went up like $150. That's how it's fast. And we can talk about the Fed, the printing and all that stuff, but then you have all this spending. I think we're going to get hit real bad. And I think Bitcoin is going to through the roof by the end of the year. Don't look at me. I'm not a financial expert. I just look at what Max Kaiser's talking about. The guy's been right, a lot. Right. So when you combine all of these things, so Max Kaiser comes out and he's like, Bitcoin is going to be, his price point is $220 by the end of the year. Maybe not. I don't know. But Max has been right, and I've listened to him in the past. I'd be very wealthy. But then I see what he's saying. Then I look at the things we're saying. This Fed getting woke thing, the wokeness is not merit, which means you're going to have people who can't do the job that's already a ridiculous job, the Fed, which means potential destabilization on whatever it is they're trying to do in the first place is probably going to get worse. Then you have the mass printing of money. You have no one wanting to work. Seems to me like Bitcoin's going to skyrocket by the end of the year. Because I'm sorry. Bitcoin's not going to skyrocket. The dollar is going to collapse. Yeah. That's a better way to put it.
Huh. Yeah. I think we need to repeal the Federal Reserve Act.
Yeah, of course.
But we need a new system in place, like to withdraw Federal Reserve notes and then give you a cryptocurrency in response. Give people 2 years to turn in all their Federal Reserve notes and then just make them all worth nil after that. So don't hoard your money. Turn it in. Let's start a new economy. Obviously, they're going to track it if it's a crypto on the blockchain. So every move you make, I don't know how they'll hide money offshore in Panama if it's a crypto. Maybe they can't. Maybe that's the point. Or maybe
it's really easy to do, actually.
They actually have different kinds of cryptos too that really do provide a lot better security, I think. Yeah.
Monero you can't track. I think Zcash you can't track.
No. Zcash has I think I could be wrong about this, but it has shadow accounts and visible accounts, so it works both ways. You can choose to like a maxed account or none. That's really interesting, actually.
And look, this is what Frederick Hayek said was rather than having, I think Murray Rothbard wanted 100%. By law, 100% gold reserve standard. And Hayek just said, let there be competing currencies. I think this is the Ron Paul position. Just what you do is you have to repeal the legal tender laws and you have to repeal the taxes on different alternative currencies, right? As if you're taxing capital gains on silver and Bitcoins and everything, that makes it impossible to use as a currency, really, or much more
especially if you inflate the dollar and cause the cost of silver to go up double.
Right.
And then tax them on that increase, even though the value didn't increase. They just printed twice the amount of money, so it looks like it. And then you lose a fourth of your money because they printed twice as much.
Yep. And they've been printing like crazy.
I have to tell you the bad news is I talked with Robert Higgs, and this conversation is probably 10 years old now or more, but Robert Higgs is the great libertarian economist that wrote Crisis and Leviathan. And he's like, listen, man, forget the petrodollar. Forget, any of the different kind of answers for why people are so dependent on the dollar. They're dependent on the dollar because they have been. And the dollar's been the world reserve currency since the end of World War II, and it's going to stay that way for a very long time because what it would take to stop that would be for every central banker in the world to wake up one day and realize that all those $100 bills in their bank vault are worth nothing and try to panic and sell them all at the same time. But they're all painted into a corner. If any of them ever do that, then they're the one precipitating the crisis and making it worse, and they're not going to be able to get rid of the money before they lose it.
But hold on. What if all of these bankers are sitting there with $100 in their bank account, and then they're like, I don't want to be the one to sell because it'll cause my money to start losing value, so I won't be able to sell fast enough. And then Joe Biden yells out "Trina on a Shabbat of pressure" and starts printing money like crazy. Then they're going to be like, well, he's already doing it, so dump the dollar.
Right.
People are going to want to get out before it hits because he's already tanking it.
Right. It could happen, but then there's also the question of American military power. And are you going to sell those $100 bills in your vault if we're going to kill you if you try it?
Wasn't it, we had Gaddafi. What did he want to trade? In dinars?
Yeah, he wanted to. Essentially, they still use the French franc in the formerly French colonies of Africa. Yeah. And even though the French are on the euro, they still use the French franc. And then he wanted to undermine that by switching to a gold-backed dinar.
Yeah. Although, and then he died.
Yeah. And
I'm weird how that happens, right?
I'm not really sure how much evidence there is that was really the French's worry. I think Sarkozy was really worried that it was embarrassing to him that he had stood by Ben Ali in Tunisia all the way up until he was forced to flee at the very start of the Arab Spring. Yeah. And so he had a public relations problem, and he was going to take it out on Gaddafi. And then Gaddafi had also spent a bunch of money on Sarkozy's election campaign. So then he had the same problem John McCain and Joe Lieberman had with Gaddafi, was they had sucked up to him and been too nice to him recently. And so now that he was a hate figure again, they had to turn on him again.
We can thank the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, for absolutely destroying North Africa.
Absolutely right. And look, there was just a piece the other day about the ISIS Sharia Islamist state in northern Mali, which is a direct consequence of the war in Libya. It's got a whole chapter in the book.
Have you studied Sidney Blumenthal much? Uh-huh. He basically sent emails to Hillary Clinton. This is part of her email scandal. She tried to delete as much as possible, but you can see in Podesta's email. You can look them up. Sidney Blumenthal, John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, in fact, Osprey Global Solutions, which was I think Sidney's company that he wanted. It's arms running company.
I think the Blumenthal emails actually were released by the State Department. I think those were not the ones that were leaked in the DNC leak and the Podesta leak. They were the State Department. Jason Leopold sued under the Freedom of Information Act, and they are very incriminating. Yeah, I mean, he warns her that they're rounding up and murdering blacks just for being black on the false accusation that they're mercenaries. And this is in April. They kept the war going another 8 months after that. They could have called it off at any time.
Obama forbade Hillary working at all with Sidney Blumenthal. He thought he was bad news. And Hillary was like, okay, and then just kept working with him anyway. And he would send her battle tactics emails like, you need to invade Libya. When we get there, we'll set up my company, Osprey Global Solutions, to fund the revolutionaries, basically the American-backed new military. Hillary's like, okay. She just passes it on to her military advisor.
That's the game.
Yep. It's disgusting. It's called arms running, war profiteering. It's illegal as far as I know. Although maybe it's not illegal. I don't know. Can I be a war profiteer?
So hold on. We'll bring it back before we go to Super Chats. This is what the woke people realized. There's no truth but power. Oh, it's illegal? Well, they control the courts, so what does it matter anymore? Right. Hillary Clinton, she's going to go to jail for anything. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.